I was 2,300 miles away when Grandma Rose died. Tokyo at sunrise looks nothing like Pennsylvania in autumn. And I remember standing on my apartment balcony that October morning, watching the city wake up in shades of silver and pink, when my phone buzzed with Mom's message. Just 3 words. She's gone, Elizabeth. No preparation softens that blow. Not the fact that Grandma Rose was 87. Not the months we'd known her heart was failing. Not the ocean between us that I'd put there on purpose, chasing a career in international marketing that felt important until it suddenly didn't matter at all. I caught the next flight I could. 17 hours of staring at the seat in front of me, remembering Grandma Rose wasn't the cookie-baking, soft-spoken grandmother from greeting cards. She was sharp-tongued and stubborn, a retired schoolteacher who'd buried 2 husbands and raised 3 children in a narrow brick apartment building in Pittsburgh's Lawrenceville neighborhood. The kind of woman who wore lipstick to the grocery store and called everyone dear in a way that could be either tender or cutting, depending on her mood. She taught me to play chess when I was 7. Life is about thinking 3 moves ahead, Elizabeth, she'd say, moving her bishop with those thin, elegant fingers, and knowing when to sacrifice a pawn. I didn't understand then. I think I do now. By the time I landed, the funeral arrangements were already made. My sister Marianne had handled everything, Mom said. Marianne, who'd stayed in Pittsburgh, who'd married her high school boyfriend and had 3 kids by 29, who visited Grandma Rose every Sunday like clockwork while I sent postcards from Seoul, Barcelona, Dubai. The guilt was a living thing in my chest. The funeral was small. November rain drummed on the church roof while Pastor Chen talked about eternal rest. I sat between Mom and Marianne, watching water streak the stained glass windows, turning saints into bleeding colors. Marianne's hand found mine during the final hymn, and she squeezed once sisterly, comforting. I squeezed back. I should have known better. Grandma Rose had taught me to look 3 moves ahead. The reading of the will happened 4 days later in Mr. Kowalski's office, a cramped room above a pharmacy that smelled like old paper and lemon polish. Gerald Kowalski had been Grandma Rose's lawyer for 40 years. A barrel-chested man with kind eyes and a habit of cleaning his glasses when he had bad news to deliver. He didn't clean his glasses that day. Rose left very specific instructions, he said, spreading documents across his desk like playing cards. The apartment building goes to Elizabeth. The monetary assets, approximately $43,000 in savings and bonds, are to be split between Marianne and your mother, Dorothy. Silence. I stared at him. The building? All 3 units, Mr. Kowalski confirmed. Your grandmother purchased the property in 1979. It's been fully paid off since 1994. Current valuation puts it around $650,000. My mother's face remained neutral, but I knew her well enough to see the tightness around her eyes. Marianne, though Marianne went very still in the chair beside me. Why? It was barely a whisper. Mr. Kowalski looked at me over his glasses. Your grandmother said you were the only one who would understand the difference between owning something and valuing it. She said you'd know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I was 28 years old, living in a country where I didn't speak the language fluently, with a lease I couldn't break and a job I couldn't leave without penalty. The building was a 45-minute walk from where I'd grown up, in a neighborhood that was gentrifying rapidly, where old Polish bakeries stood next to craft breweries and the rent had tripled in a decade. There's a letter, Mr. Kowalski added, sliding an envelope across the desk. Grandma Rose's handwriting, shaky but deliberate. For Elizabeth. Read this alone. I did. That night, in my childhood bedroom at Mom's house. The letter was 2 pages, front and back. And it started with, if you're reading this, I'm dead, and you're probably confused as hell, even from beyond the grave. Grandma Rose didn't mince words. I'm leaving you the building because you're the one who left, she wrote. Marianne stayed because she was afraid. Your mother stayed because she was tired. But you left because you wanted to see what else was out there, and that takes a different kind of courage. The building is yours to keep, sell, or burn down for all I care, but it's your choice, Elizabeth. Not your sister's, not your mother's, yours. Don't let anyone take that from you. Also, the plumber who comes for the 2nd floor unit is overcharging you. used Jerry Kowalski's nephew instead. I laughed and cried at the same time. Sitting cross-legged on my twin bed with its faded floral quilt, in a room that still had my high school debate team trophy on the dresser, the next morning, I told Marianne and Mom about the building details over breakfast. Pancakes and coffee in Mom's yellow kitchen, winter light pale through the curtains. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, I said carefully. I need to think about it. Maybe hire a property manager until I figure things out. Marianne nodded, pushing eggs around her plate. That makes sense. It's a lot to handle from Tokyo. We'll support whatever you decide, honey, Mom added. But something in her voice felt rehearsed. I flew back to Japan 3 days later. My boss had been understanding, but there were deadlines, presentations, clients waiting. Life in Tokyo swallowed me back up the morning train commutes, the standing meetings in 2 cold conference rooms, the loneliness of being a foreigner in a city of millions. The building became something I'd deal with eventually. Mr. Kowalski sent monthly reports. The tenants paid on time. The property taxes were manageable. Everything was fine. For 8 months, everything was fine. Then I got the email. It came on a Tuesday in July, 2:00 a.m. Tokyo time. I was awake anyway, jet-lagged from a work trip to Singapore, scrolling mindlessly through my phone. The sender was Ruthamson at Customer.com. Dear Miss Herrera, congratulations on your recent property sale. As per our agreement with your representative, we have successfully closed on the Lawrenceville building at 4237 Butler Street. The final sale price of $680,000 exceeded the listing price by $30,000. Attached, please find the closing documents. For your records. It has been a pleasure working with your family on this transaction. My hands went numb. I read it 3 times. Then I called Mr. Kowalski, forgetting entirely that it was 1:00 p.m. yesterday in Pittsburgh. He answered on the 4th ring. Elizabeth? Is everything all right? Did I sell Grandma Rose's building? A pause. What? Did I sell the building? No, absolutely not. Why would you? I forwarded him the email. Heard him open it in real time. The tiny intake of breath. Jesus Christ. Gerald. What the hell is happening? Another pause. Longer this time. Keys clicking. Let me make some calls. Don't respond to that email. Don't do anything. I'll call you back in 2 hours. Those were the longest 2 hours of my life. When he called back, his voice had changed. Careful. Lawyer, careful. Elizabeth, I need you to listen very carefully. Your sister Marianne signed the closing documents. The world tilted. She what? She represented herself as you. Used a power of attorney document that was. I'm still confirming, but I believe it was forged. The notary stamp looks legitimate, but the signature is wrong, and the date doesn't match up with any time you were in the country. I couldn't breathe. Marianne sold my building. It appears so. She used a local realtor, moved quickly. The whole transaction took 6 weeks. The money went into an account at First National with your name on it. But I'm guessing she has access. She stole from me. Yes, Mr. Kowalski said quietly. She did. I don't remember the rest of that conversation. Just a numb, cold feeling spreading through my chest like ice water. The way my apartment suddenly felt like a cage. The sound of Tokyo outside my window, car horns, train announcements, a city that didn't know and didn't care that my sister had betrayed me. I called her. It was evening in Pittsburgh. She answered cheerfully. Lizzie, how are you? Did you sell Grandma's building? Silence. Then, oh, you found out. Did you sell my building? Elizabeth, calm down. Marianne, answer the question. A sigh. Like I was being unreasonable. Yes, I did. But before you freak out, let me explain. I hung up. She called back immediately. I declined. She called again, and again. On the 5th attempt, I answered. You need to listen to me, she said, words tumbling out fast. That building was falling apart, Elizabeth. The roof needed replacing. The furnace was ancient, and Mrs. Kowalski in the first-floor unit was threatening to sue because of mold in the bathroom. You were never going to come back and deal with it. And Mom and I didn't have the money to fix everything, so I made an executive decision. You forged legal documents. I protected the family. That $680,000 is sitting in an account with your name on it, minus the realtor fees and closing costs and the money I spent on emergency repairs before the sale. You still have over 600,000. What are you complaining about? My voice came out dead calm. How much is in the account right now? Pause. Well, we had some family expenses. How much, Marianne? 412,000. She'd taken nearly $200,000. Spend it or hidden it, I didn't know which was worse. I'm coming home, I said. Don't spend another penny. Elizabeth, you're overreacting. I hung up. This time, I blocked her number. I gave my notice the next morning. My boss tried to convince me to stay, but I was done with Tokyo. Done with pretending distance would make me a different person. Done with letting other people make decisions about my life. I was on a plane within a week. My mother's face when I showed up unannounced told me she knew. Guilt and defensiveness warring in her eyes as she stood in the doorway of the house I'd grown up in. Her hands still wet from washing dishes. Elizabeth, honey, let's talk about this. Did you know? She looked away. That was answer enough. Marianne was trying to help, Mom said quietly. She was drowning, Elizabeth. Brad lost his job 6 months ago. They were going to lose the house. The kids needed, so she stole from me. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. I pushed past her, into the house. Where's the paperwork? The forged power of attorney, the closing documents. All of it. Mom wrung her hands. Marianne has everything. Then call her. Tell her I'm here. Tell her I want every single document, every receipt, every bank statement, or I'm going to the police. My mother paled. You wouldn't. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone who'd chosen the easy daughter over the right choice. Who'd let Marianne get away with this because conflict was harder than complicity. Watch me, I said. Marianne showed up an hour later. She'd always been prettier than me, softer features, better hair. The kind of girl who got asked to prom by 3 different guys while I spent senior year on the debate team. But standing in Mom's living room that evening, she looked haggard. Tired in a way that came from more than sleepless nights with kids. You didn't have to come all this way, she started. We could have worked this out over the phone. Give me the documents. She blinked. Elizabeth, every single one. Now, she'd brought a folder. Thin, which should have been my first warning. Inside were copies, just copies of the closing paperwork, the deed transfer, the cashier's check receipt. I flipped through them slowly. My hands remarkably steady considering the rage building in my chest. Where's the power of attorney? I asked. I don't have it. Marianne. I don't. The lawyer kept the original. Which lawyer? Because Gerald Kowalski sure as hell didn't handle this. Her jaw tightened. A different one. Through the realty company. Red flag. Huge waving red flag. What's their name? I don't remember, Marianne. What's their name? Why does it matter? The sale is done, Elizabeth. Legal and binding. You can't undo it just because you're mad. I took out my phone. I'm calling the FBI. She went white. What? Wire fraud across state lines. Interstate commerce. Forged legal documents. Identity theft. Federal charges. I wasn't bluffing. I'd spent my lunch break on the plane researching. You're looking at 20 years, Marianne. You wouldn't do that to me. But her voice shook. You're right, I said calmly. I won't. If you give me the name of the lawyer, the original power of attorney, and access to every account where my money went. Mom made us sound like a wounded animal. Elizabeth, please stay out of this, Mom. Marianne's eyes filled with tears. I did this for my family. I am your family. The words hung there. She crumpled into Mom's couch, crying big, gasping sobs that once upon a time would have made me fold. But I stood there, unmoved, watching my sister cry and feeling nothing but cold clarity. Grandma Rose had been right. Life was about thinking 3 moves ahead. It took 2 days, but Marianne finally broke. Gave me everything: the lawyer's name, a semi-retired guy in McKeesport who'd been disbarred twice. The forged power of attorney complete with a notary stamp she'd bought on Amazon. And the bank statements showing where the money had gone. Most of it was exactly what she'd claimed. Mortgage payments for her house, credit card debt, her husband Brad's failed landscaping business. But buried in the transactions were smaller purchases that made my stomach turn. A beach vacation in Myrtle Beach, a new SUV, furniture from West Elm. She'd spent my inheritance on accent pillows. The lawyer route would have taken years and cost a fortune I didn't want to spend. So I went another direction. I called the buyer, a young couple named Jennifer and Marcus Chen, who'd paid $680,000 for what they thought was a legitimate property sale. We met at a coffee shop in Lawrenceville, 2 blocks from the building that should have been mine. They were in their early 30s, both software engineers, earnest and nervous when I explained the situation. We had no idea, Jennifer said, horrified. The realtor said everything was legitimate. It's not your fault, I assured them. But legally, that sale is void. My sister forged the documents. The deed transfer shouldn't have been processed. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. What happens now? I'd thought about this. Stayed up 3 nights in a row, thinking about justice versus revenge, about what Grandma Rose would want, about the kind of person I wanted to be. I have 2 options, I said carefully. I can void the sale, force you to move out, and keep the building. Or, Jennifer leaned forward. Or I can sell it to you again. Legitimate paperwork this time. Same price you already paid, but you only owe the difference after I return what you've paid so far. They stared at me. Why would you do that? Marcus asked. Because I didn't want the building. I never had. Grandma Rose had left it to me as a choice, not a burden. And my choice was to let it go on my terms, not Mary Ann's. Because you're victims here too, I said simply. And because this way, everyone gets what they actually want except the person who deserves to lose. We shook hands. The next part was trickier. I filed a police report for identity theft and wire fraud. Gave them everything: the forged documents, the bank statements, the recordings of my phone conversations with Mary Ann where she'd admitted what she'd done. Single-party consent state. I'd checked. The detective assigned to my case was a woman named Gloria Santos, 50-something with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen everything twice. Your sister's going to prison, she said flatly after reviewing the evidence. No question. The DA will prosecute this. What if she pays it back? Detective Santos raised an eyebrow. All of it? Every penny she took, plus interest. And she signs a confession, notarized and legally binding, admitting to fraud. You want restitution over prosecution? I want my money back. And I want her to understand there are consequences. I met her eyes. Prison won't teach her anything except how to be bitter. But losing everything she stole? Watching her husband work a second job to pay me back? Living with the knowledge that I could have destroyed her life but chose mercy? That might actually change her. Detective Santos studied me for a long moment. Then she smiled, small and sad. You're either a saint or a sadist. I'm neither. I'm just tired. It took 3 months to sort out. 3 months of lawyers and mediators and very tense family dinners where Mom cried and Mary Ann couldn't meet my eyes. In the end, she paid back $187,443.29. Every dollar she'd taken. Brad picked up work at a warehouse while keeping his landscaping business on weekends. Mary Ann got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. They sold the SUV and downgraded to a used Honda. They canceled their cable and memberships and all the small luxuries they'd funded with my money. It took them 2 years to pay me back in full. I made them sign a payment plan with penalty clauses if they missed a single installment. I was there in person for every check handover, watching Mary Ann's hand shake as she signed. I wasn't cruel about it, but I wasn't kind either. The Chen family moved into the building officially in September. I went to their housewarming party, brought a bottle of wine and a potted plant. Their daughter, 3 years old, showed me her new room with purple walls and butterfly stickers. This is a good place, Jennifer told me, standing in the kitchen that Grandma Rose had renovated in 1987. Thank you for giving us a second chance. Thank you for being honest, I replied. I didn't tell them that I sometimes drove past the building at night, sitting in my rental car across the street, looking up at the windows where lights glowed warm and golden, where families lived and fought and loved and existed in the space that used to be Grandma Rose's. I didn't tell them it still hurt. Some things you don't need to say out loud. My relationship with Marianne never recovered. We're civil at family gatherings, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Mom's birthday. We exchange pleasantries and make small talk about her kids' soccer games and my new job at a marketing firm in Philadelphia, but the trust is gone. Once you know what someone is capable of, you can't unknow it. Mom tries sometimes, in her gentle way, to bridge the gap. She made a mistake, Elizabeth. She was desperate. She made a choice. I correct her. Every time. There's a difference. I moved back to the States permanently. Got an apartment in Philadelphia, small but mine, with a view of the Schuylkill River. Started therapy to work through the anger and betrayal. Joined a book club. Started dating again. Adopted a cat named Bishop after Grandma Rose's favorite chess piece. Built a life that was wholly mine. On the 2-year anniversary of Grandma Rose's death, I drove to Pittsburgh. Visited her grave in Allegheny Cemetery, where frost was starting to coat the grass and the trees stood bare against a steel gray sky. I brought chess pieces, a queen and a pawn. Buried them in the dirt by her headstone. I get it now, I told her, crouched there in the cold. The lesson. About sacrifice and strategy and thinking ahead. The wind rattled through the cemetery trees. I didn't burn down the building, by the way. Found a plumber who doesn't overcharge, though. Jerry Kowalski's nephew. You were right about that too. A crow called somewhere in the distance. I miss you, I whispered. I miss you so much. And I'm so angry you're not here to see this, to tell me if I did the right thing, but I knew the answer already. Grandma Rose had left me the building not because she wanted me to keep it, but because she wanted me to choose, to take control, to refuse to be a victim. She taught me to play the long game. And I'd won. Not the way Marianne had won with quick money and stolen comfort, but the way that mattered. With dignity, with justice, with the knowledge that I'd faced betrayal and come out stronger on the other side. I stood up, brushed dirt from my knees, and walked back to my car. Behind me, the gravestone read, Rose Catherine Herrera, 1937 to 2024. She played to win. I smiled. Yeah, Grandma. Yeah, she did. Sometimes family betrays you. Sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who hurt you deepest. But you get to decide what comes next. You get to choose whether bitterness or wisdom wins. I chose wisdom. And every day, I choose it again. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels.